Melrose welcoming you our Meet the Candidates night. I am Jean McDonald, the moderator of this event and a member of the Melrose Area Women of Today. Our timekeeper tonight is Kara Norling. Kara, right there. President of the Melrose Area Women of Today. First of all, we'd like to thank the candidates for coming tonight. We'd like to take a 15-minute break right around 8 o'clock, at which time you can write your questions for a specific candidate on little slips of paper, which you will see located right there. Put them in the basket. So as we ask the questions tonight, please be thinking about what you might like to ask. It is important, though, that when you do that, you will not be able to have questions asked that are personal in nature. So we appreciate you paying attention to that. A couple of other administrative things. First of all, I'd like you to note that Danielle Ellering has dropped out of the city council race because of other commitments and therefore is not here with us tonight. Also, you will notice that Tony Clausen is not here. Tony is running for city council. He did have another commitment in the metro area and is hoping to maybe be here. So I wanted, because I'm sure some of you are wondering, it doesn't look like everybody. That's why. Okay, so now each candidate will have 1 minute to introduce himself or herself and 1 minute to give his or her qualifications for office. We will start with the city candidates and continue alphabetically through the school board candidates. All right, so if we could start with Savan Duvall. Please introduce yourself and tell us about yourself.
My name is Savan. I work for a local small business in town. I'm very passionate about small business and I'd like to see small business growth. I feel I'm qualified for the position because I live in the community and I'm concerned about seeing small business disappear.
I'm sorry, stop just a minute.
Yes?
Can you please move that mic a little closer so that people can hear you? You might need to get a little closer and speak up. Sorry, thank you. All right.
Wonderful.
Sorry.
My name is Savan. I work for a local small business. I'm very passionate about small business. I'd like to see small business continue to grow rather than disappear. I feel I'm qualified for the position because I work and live in the community and I see this as an opportunity to serve and represent people equally and fairly. I've worked in customer service oriented jobs my whole life, so I think that makes me very down to earth and used to dealing with the public and also listening to their concerns.
All right, thank you. Justin Freeler, please.
Might get close enough. I'm Justin Freeler. I born and raised in Melrose. I work for Arvik Communications in Melrose. I have 3 young kids at home, and I just am running for city council because I just want to be involved in the community and want to help out making important decisions. That's about it.
Okay, thank you. All right, now let's move on to the school board candidates, starting with Randy Duffner, please.
Good evening, Randy Duffner. I'm a 1988 graduate of Melrose High School and a 93 graduate of Central State University. Married to Hallie Duffner of 19 years. We have 3 kids, Madison, Mitchell, and Marshall. Yes, my lovely wife Hallie, forgot to add that too. Currently employed for the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Farm Service Agency for the last 23 years. Through a series of promotions, actually I started in the loan officer world and then through a series of promotions, I'm a regional director now. Volunteer EMT for the city of Melrose. It's been my community service act for quite a few years. And families owns and operates a mobile home park and storage unit, and we have a livestock operation.
Okay,
My
thank
time.
you.
Oh, I hadn't put up the now yet.
Well, maybe
This
we
is the
should-
one.
Now,
This is the one
it's-
that says-
when you see now, it's time to put in when you have 1 minute.
Also, they see the 1 minute, I thought it was done.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, I should have instructed you. You start with 2 and then you get down to
Start with
1.
1, 30 seconds, and then now means.
Okay.
Pat Hiller, please.
My name is Pat Heller. I've had the privilege of being on the school board for the past 4 years. I'm married. I have 3 children. Our oldest just graduated, and I have a 10th grader and a 6th grader at St. Mary's. I'm not a native. I've lived in Melrose for 11. I've lived north of Melrose, but I've lived in the area for 11 or 12 years. I've been a doctor at the Central Care Clinic for that length of time. I think that the experience that I've had in the last 4 years has been a good experience for me. It's a learning experience. I can't say that everything was. I think that there are things that I've learned over the last 4 years, some of those by trial and error, and some of those by just learning the ropes, for lack of a better term. And I am interested in and want to use what I've learned over the last 4 years and take that forward for the next 4.
Thank you. Pat Schad, please.
Hi, my name is Pat Schad, and
Move the mic up just. Thank you. I'm not sure if you hit it first.
I'm Pat Schad, and I was born and raised in Melrose, graduated the year before Mr. Duffner here, so I'm quite a bit older than you. And moved away after graduation, went to college, came back about 12 years ago or so, 2004, Teresa, my wife, and I moved to Melrose. We have 2 children, Gracie and Logan. They both go to school here in Melrose as well. And I've been in the finance industry about 20 years. Currently, I work as a sales and finance manager at Center Sports and Sox Center. And currently, I'm a board member, serve as the board chair currently. This is coming up on the end of my first term. And again, like Pat said, kind of go in with your eyes wide open to this, and it's quite a learning curve to come in, even though I've been around finance most of my life. Looking at school finances is a little different. Again, there's just so many moving parts to it. I think the last 4 years have prepared me to hopefully go on for an additional 4 years and use the knowledge I've gained to move forward and continue to try to make the best decisions I can for our kids and our communities in the district.
Thank you. All right, Lee Uppa.
Hi, my name is Lee Uppa. My husband Jim and I were graduates of Melrose High School. We raised 4 children in this district, and we currently have 2 grandchildren in the district. I have worked in the school district for 30 years, 26 as a paraprofessional and 4 as an administrative assistant. I've been going to school board meetings for over 5 years now, wanting to see exactly how the whole process works. I would like to be a part of that process. I see what happens in the school when the school board makes decisions. I see, being in the school, how those decisions affect what's going on. And so I'd like to be a part of that process. And I've loved working the school, so I have a very big interest in the school doing well and the students learning well.
Thank you. Chris Winter.
Hi, I'm Chris Winter. I'm married to Dale Winter, and we live just south of Greenwell on the dairy farm, and I work full-time at ICBA and Sox Center in the accounting department. I have 2 kids, Ashley, who's a senior at UWS, graduated from Melrose, and Jordan is currently a senior here in Melrose also. I'm running for my 3rd term, and I thought after 4 years, I'm like, okay, we need the next 4 to figure this out now. I need another 4. It's just ever changing, and there's always something new going on. So I just like being involved with making the decisions of the school.
Okay, thank you. So we'll now begin asking candidates the prepared questions given them by our Women of Today chapter 2 weeks ago. Candidates will be given 2 minutes to respond. The first question is of Sivan and Justin. What are the biggest issues facing the city of Melrose, and what would you do about them? Sivan.
Some of the big issues facing Melrose, I think, are efficient policing, better advertising of our resources, and having events that the whole community feels involved in. A better program that advertises small business in Melrose and encourages growth. maybe advertising the $10 model of small business that teaches and informs the community that when you spend money in a small business, it stays in the community. It earns taxes for the community, and supporting local organizations is very important.
Okay, thank you. Justin?
Issues that we're facing in Melrose, I guess I don't really feel like we're facing a lot of big issues that are coming up. We have a lot of business growth, Genio, we have Boomerang expanding, the hospital expanding. We are allowing our businesses to grow, and I think we're helping them out as much as possible.
Okay, thank you. The next question is for the school board candidates. What is the biggest issue facing the school district, and what would you do about it? Randy, you want to start?
Sure. School financing needs to always be looked at and kept under control. We always have to make sure that we're prudent in our spending and keeping a close eye really on the state and federal budgets of their appropriations. I worked for the Department of Ag, like I said, for 23 years, and we are also an appropriated fund, so you never know when the funding is higher or lower. You could very easily hit another downcline, which then everybody has to start cutting back. So that finance is always something very important. Second thing I have is just keeping up with technology with our kids. And we talked about the no paper pledge, making sure that all the children have a laptop or a notebook or some type of a computer device. But it's not just that, it's also the software that we have to keep a close eye in. In my job, we work with a lot of farm business management instructors, post-schooling of the kids. And software is really a challenge in making sure that the kids are able to leap from the high school setting into a college setting. And if they choose not to go post-secondary schooling, making sure that they're ready for the workforce is something that we always have to be cognizant of and aware of. And then lastly is the well-being of our children. I think as administrators, as school board members, as faculty, that's always going to be kind of our number one, is making sure the safety. And there's some things that I think we need to constantly be working on. I think we've done a great job at this point, but it's something we always have to be looking at in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat Heller, please.
I guess I interpreted this question as not a new issue, but just what is the main issue that is the task of the school system every year, every school district is trying to maximize our academic performance. And some of those words mean test scores, and I don't mean that, because there are some limits to what you can measure with test scores. But test scores are a reality. We're prepared by them, we're judged by them. Our test scores affect our life as a school district, so I don't want to ignore those. But the test scores don't measure things such as what we're doing pre-K, although what you do pre-K affects your test scores later. It doesn't measure what you're doing with your arts and your languages and some of your social studies and even some of your sciences. Those aren't exactly evaluated by test scores. I think the challenge of any school district is to maximize every kid's performance. The school district has, a variety, has diversity, and it has kids that are interested in the college prep, but they're also interested, there are other kids that are interested in more of the vocational and those avenues, and we need to try to do the best for every kid and maximize their abilities and their potential. I think that's the issue that's got to drive all of our decisions.
Okay, thank you. Pat Schott, please.
When I read this question, I can't really think of one in particular that's the biggest to me. Two of them I talked about quite often we do in our meetings and such, as Pat just alluded to, is the testing. It's frustrating for me because I understand this has to be done for the state standards to evaluate where our kids are at, where our staff is at. But I think we've gotten to the point now where the creativity for our teachers is kind of taken away from them because now they have to teach to the test. And kind of hear that phrase all the time, but, it's frustrating, but again, it's a reality, and I think we have to obviously stay on board with that, and that's a big issue. We have a new testing coordinator in our school now, who I think is extremely involved in it, loves doing it, and is gonna do a tremendous job for us to help with that. The second thing here is class size. We recently have developed a committee through our board to sit down and deal with our class sizes. It's a balancing act on those, obviously, because if you get it down to a certain size, obviously that means more classes, that means more staff. Your large expenses, you look at a budget, come from staff. So again, we have to be careful. Again, the balancing act is the educational trade-off for our kids and I guess the ease on our staff. We're not having 30, 32 kids in a class, maybe down to a 20 to a 25, somewhere in there. But again, we haven't narrowed down what that number is. We kind of want to look at it on a case-by-case basis and see what happens. Again, it can be very expensive for the district, but it's something the educational trade-off can possibly be worth in the long run. So for me, those were kind of two of the bigger things that I looked at.
You're welcome. Lee?
I think, like most of them have mentioned already, that we need to meet the needs of students. But we have at-risk learners, we have average learners, and we have high achievers. And it's hard to meet the needs of all three areas, but we need to do that. That's our job. I think we need to keep looking at curriculum that meets the needs of all those students, and our staff needs continuing staff development. We talk about technology, and yes, we need technology, but the staff also needs to have the time to be trained in how to use that technology efficiently and use it to all the extra stuff that comes with it to help kids learn how to use all the stuff that comes with technology. There's so many things out there, but you can't, as a staff person, know everything without all the extra training that comes with all of this, and that's very important.
Okay, thank you. Chris Hunter, please.
You probably read the Beacon, so here's my answer. I would say the ever-changing demographics of the school district is still our biggest challenge. The teachers adapt to the way they carry out their instructions due to the demographics of their classroom, and we need to continue to look for new strategies to serve students whom the current instruction is not reaching.
Okay, thank you. All right, Justin and Savan, what would you, yes. Okay, what would you recommend for the 400 block largely destroyed by fire last month? Justin Freeler, please.
I do know that the city has helped out already by getting them into a TIF. Also, I feel that they should help them out, get that rebuilt, get the businesses rebuilt, so we don't lose any businesses to other all of a sudden they want to move on, and we're taking the time and stuff, but we also have to take our time a little bit in the process to make sure that it's best, whatever they're going to build, there's the best suit for Main Street of Melrose.
Thank you. Savan.
I feel there's been a good response from community leaders already. There was a walk done with the mayor. There is a recovery fund effort. There is a garage sale held. I think the ball's rolling in the right direction right now, and I'd really like to see the small businesses all get built back and built smarter than they were. And that's my stance on it.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next question. School board candidates, and this time we'll start with Chris and work backwards, alphabet-wise. That didn't sound very good. Okay, what do you consider the district's top priority for spending? For instance, is it academics, athletics, whatever, in terms of a referendum? Chris?
I think our top priority for spending in terms of a referendum would be the academic area. Our first priority is our education. We need to make sure we make the best use out of our money to help further the education of students. If we can provide more opportunities, educationally speaking, I believe parents will want their students to attend Melrose Area School District. That will in turn help with funding for each student that we get, and we can gain due to the great educational value we can provide.
Thank you. Lee?
Okay. I also agree that the top priority would be spending for academics. The job of the district is to prepare students to be successful and productive adults. And while athletics helps a person to be well-rounded, academics is still what will ultimately help them to be successful.
Thank you. Pat Sharp.
Top priority for spending in terms of referendum is always academic. Always academic. That's what our kids are there for, and to get an academic education. However, I'm a big supporter of co-curricular activities. I was involved while I was in school. My kids are involved. I would like to see 100% participation if possible for all kids to be involved in co-curricular activities. I think it leads to team building, leadership, responsibility, how to deal with teammates, how to deal with successes, and how to deal with failures. I think they can co-mingle and live together, and I think they're both important. But as far as a referendum, it's always academic, and I think co-curricular is a part of that academic process to help our kids with a well-rounded education. I know in our referendum that we ran this past spring, which failed, obviously, as most of you know. There was a large percentage of that referendum that dealt with co-curricular activities. Main reason for that is the buildings for the co-curriculars are large, square footage, costs a lot of money. And we understand that, but again, it was part of the referendum. I don't know what that holds for our future. The needs for certain areas are not going to go away, but I think always when we look at a referendum and spending money, classrooms, upgrade, additional space for our kids, it always comes down to academics.
Thank you. Pat Heller, please.
You know, I don't know if it's, I would like to think that it's not an either or. If we're going to prioritize, obviously academics comes before co-curriculars. And I agree that academics do take the priority. And when it goes back to the referendum that failed a few months ago, it wasn't the largest part, but the part that was nearest and dearest to my heart was the part that involved expanding our pre-K area and our kindergarten area and really trying to strengthen that. Because I think when it comes to academic performance, that's really important, because having, kindergarten is not daycare. Kindergarten, those are active learners. Our children need to be going into kindergarten ready to learn. And I think having the extra space that we can expand our pre-K program and potentially, and have extra space for the kindergarten program, I think those were important parts of the referendum. The most important part in my mind. But I don't want to totally walk away from the areas that were labeled as co-curricular. Some of that was gym space, and some of that is used for physical education class, and it is also used during the winter for kids to get some exercise and fresh air, or not fresh air, but exercise at least, so they can run off some of that extra energy that they have. So if I was given a priority, I would say the academic part, and I would emphasize the pre-K part of the building project that failed this spring.
Thank you. Randy Duffner.
Well, I suppose I gotta go academics. As a question is road is academics, obviously. And actually, I thought that was kind of a trick question, so I called a friend of mine that's a professor at the U, and he had said, think about this, Randy, and it made sense. He said, think about as a teacher, what are you getting paid, and then versus as a coach, what are you getting paid? And look at that percentage ratio. Obviously, it's going to be academics is going to be the number one priority all the way around. But like Dr. Heller had alluded to the fact, and Pat had as well, is that, and I'm in a world that I do a fair amount of hiring, and I see a lot of people that we hire that are not part of the athletics, are not part of a team concept. And it doesn't mean necessarily athletics, it could be extracurricular activity. Something where they have to rely on their neighbor, but they have to rely on their teammate to make sure that the task gets done. And that is so important in the workforce today, is that extracurricular activity along with the academic element. So, yeah, the question of the road is going to be academic.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move forward with Saban and Justin. How would you attract new businesses to Melrose? Saban.
the city website has to be more approachable in advertising the resources we have already. We're at a great location on 94, halfway between Alexandria and St. Cloud, halfway between Minneapolis and Fargo, if you want to look at it that way. We have great access to state parks in the area, and just exploiting that, really advertising that in our website would help a lot. Right now, if you look at the city site, it doesn't really exploit our businesses. It's not very word friendly. If I'm looking to build a business in this community, I'm looking at what is there in Melrose, and I think we have a lot to offer, and a lot of growth potential in that area.
Okay, thank you. Justin?
I kind of agree with Swan. I think we need to welcome with open arms, let other businesses that are looking around know what we have. I mean, we have water and communication, big power, you know, and the other thing is I think helping out other businesses attracts new businesses. We have Warrior Boats come in, and Carson's was a big help with that. MVP helped, you know, get ProLiant in. Things like that help bring new businesses in the town, so we can help out the smaller or local businesses. It brings new ones in the town.
Okay, school board question. Randy, we'll start with Randy. What changes do you see in the district in the future? And how should the district deal with them? Randy?
You know, what I wrote here is, you know, we continue to talk about technology and how the school will be reducing the need for textbooks, papers, pencils, pens. You know, and kind of go back to what I initially said here, we also have to be focusing on what is the need of the community when these students graduate, as they move on to post-secondary school. We need to be in contact with the universities and the college systems to find out what we better need to prepare for in the future. And then also for the kids that are not going post-schooling, how we can best prepare them for the workforce.
Thank you. Let's see. Dr. Hill?
Changes in the district and how to, you know, some of it's trying to predict what changes are coming. And I think some of the changes that we're probably facing is the demographics. We've been told there is going to be a gradual increase. Not true. I mean, it's probably, you know, things can change, but over the next 10 years, there's going to be an increase. And increasing diversity is another change that we're going to have to adapt to. And then there's always a change of staff. You know, we have talented staff, and we have young staff coming every year. We have retirements, and we want. I think that's the heart of our education is the people that are teaching our kids, and that's not only the teachers. It probably starts with the teachers, but also the administrative staff and the para staff. And the school board's challenge is to support those folks and make sure that we have the best people that we can have, and that we're empowering them to do the best work that they can do.
Thank you. Dr. Schott, please?
A couple of the changes, obviously, I was going to touch on, but Pat already did. The beauty of this forum is we get to answer some of this the questions the same way. But with our demographics, we're going to have roughly about a 10% increase that we've been told over the next 10 years. We did a study on that during the referendum process. And obviously, diversity is a big issue in our town. I think we need to keep on top of things at school to make sure we're handling that in the most positive manner that we can. I think we do a great job already. Another thing, obviously, is the technology. It's a forever changing issue. We have a great technology coordinator in school who does a good job for us, but making sure our servers are up to date. Again, Randy alluded to earlier, our software and our equipment for our kids and for our staff, make sure that's all up to date so they have the best equipment we can offer them. And then finally, another change is finances. I learned early on in this school board thing, everything seems to always come down to finances. it's kind of a mix of things as far as the changes go, and I think our job is to, try to forecast as best we can as a group on the board to make sure we're hopefully one step ahead of the game.
You're welcome. Lee, please?
I think the biggest challenge probably will be technology. It's going to be used increasingly with students and staff. We need to, I think the district has already kind of met that challenge by doing the one-to-one initiative. They have a technology plan in place, a committee that works on it and updates it all the time. But I think that's going to be a big challenge. We don't want to focus totally on technology. Some people work better with books and that kind of thing. So we have to have a blend of the two. And so I think that will be a challenge for a very long time. And implementing staff development for our teachers all the time and other staff to use so they can use the technology to its fullest.
Okay, thank you. Finally, Chris?
I think a big change that we might see is having the addition of the 4-year-old preschool program every day, all day, as mandated by the governor or requested by the parents of these children. Space will become an issue for the district, but also staffing these additional classrooms will increase expenses. I think the district should have a strategic plan on how to deal with the situation before it happens. We should look at other schools and how they are addressing this, and we should consider doing this sooner than later as not to be scrambling to fulfill these needs.
Okay, thank you. So, next thing we're going to do is take a 10 to 15 minute break. And so if you have a question that you want the candidate to answer, then please feel free to write it on a slip of paper and put it in the blue basket. Actually, the other thing that you can do, should you choose to do this at the end, is you may also ask your questions from the podium if you prefer. Remember that no questions of a personal nature will be accepted. Okay, so the next part of what we're going to do is a little coffee and homemade treats that the women of today have so nicely prepared. And then I will reconvene here in about 10 or 15 minutes. Very good, thank you. I'm just a thought. It was a good thought. It was a good thought. So just hold that mic a little closer. All right, thank you. Hope you enjoyed a little coffee and treats. We're going to continue with the next question for Justin Freeler and Savannah Duvall. What kind of housing do we need in Melrose, and how would you achieve it? Justin.
I think we need market rate housing. I know we're in